I started on time, kind of, because I said I start between 8 and 8:30, and it's 8:30, and I've started my stream, so I'm on time. Thank you, everybody. Welcome. It's Thursday. Thursday. A great time of the week. My name is Stuart Davis. I'm a flawed man of God. I'm a deacon at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a biblical scholar. I haven't been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What I'm here to do is to discuss Christianity. So if you are somebody who is looking for more to their existence than just this life that they're perceiving right now, and you're interested in finding meaning behind it, welcome to the show. Please tune in. Get what you can out of what we're doing tonight with these discussions about Christianity. I really want to reach out and give you a good glimpse, some influence on what it's like to be a Christian every day. Just kind of, not a scholarly look at things, but just the kind of person that you should be running into, if you join a church or Christian community. If you are here because you're just interested in discussing Christian perspectives on different topics, both within the church and without the church, current events, historical things, and any other kind of topic that comes up, welcome. This is what we talk about here on this program. So welcome, everybody. Like I said, it's Thursday. We're almost through the week, and I will be streaming Friday, as far as I know. So we will continue to do things there, but just been a very busy week, just a very busy week. And I was tired when I started last night, and not quite, not it's been tired where you feel like you're almost drunk, but you're not. You're still much more coherent, but you don't necessarily remember exactly what you talk about. That was me kind of last night. So welcome to the broadcast. We're going to start with our Bible reading, where we go through the Bible, just a few chapters a night, and just kind of read through them. We do it in order from Genesis to Revelation. We're doing it in order, and just giving my thoughts and reactions as I read through it. I would love for you to guys, if you are here live, to give me your impressions, where you think I'm wrong, where you disagree, whether you do agree, and maybe how what's being read through affects you in real life. And I'm not sure, some of the stuff that we're going over now, it's a little bit more difficult to relate to, because it's mostly regarding rules, and the rehashing of what went on in Exodus. I'm sorry, what went on in Leviticus and Numbers, when God is basically establishing this culture and these rules to live by, for the Israelites to establish a wholesome society with the Promised Land. And what we see, and this is what I've loved about Deuteronomy so far. This is what I've loved about Deuteronomy so far. Moses is making a very distinct plea to his people. I'm setting you off. I'm letting you go. And here's where I'm just going to go through your entire history as we know it. And where I'm just going to go through it from, look, God brought you out of Exodus after he had made a promise of a covenant with Joseph's ancestors. And now it's being fulfilled. He's shown you many, many miracles. He's punished you in many ways. He's given you these rules, and in some ways you've made him happy. In many ways you've disappointed him. But we're going to do better. And when I send you off, I want you to remember where you came from. Where you came from. We always talk about people who reach fame and fortune and everything, and they become a different person altogether. And that's kind of what the Israelites do in a nutshell. They go from being slaves to being nomads, basically wandering around, to being put into this promised land. What they're getting ready to do, go into this promised land, where they're going to have nice resources. They're going to have blessings. They're going to be able to defeat their enemies. All this stuff. So it's basically the same as getting fame and fortune. But you got to stay true to your roots. Remember how you got here. Remember who brought you, right? And it's very singular in this case. It's God. It's God. So Moses is trying to hammer that point home. He knows it's going to be a problem, but he's trying to hammer that point home, that you need to just remember the fundamentals of what God's given you with this covenant that we've established. He's right here. We have the ark, right? Remember that He's got rules, but if you obey those rules, you will be blessed greatly. If you disobey those rules, you will be punished greatly. So Moses is making this great plea. This is why I love Moses so much. I mean, after everything that he went through, the Israelites kind of have looked up to him as a leader, but at the same time treated him like crap, and done some pretty disrespectful things both to him and to God. And Moses is a man who loves God a lot, right? Trying to come up with a good adjective for that. He's very attached to God. He's very sensitive to people who mock him or who disobey him. So we're just going through those points. So we were going to go through a couple of things that we actually haven't discussed in Leviticus. So we're going to see a couple of new rules regarding some things, and we're going to talk about me getting ratioed on something something kind of like this. When I got ratioed on Twitter this previous Tuesday, I'll talk about it. All right. So Deuteronomy 21, atonement for an unsolved murder. I use Bible Gateway. It's a great website. It's a great app. You can find all the different translations there. It's easy to use. It's easy to navigate. The app could use some tweaking. The website, it's first class. So this is what I use to read through, and it works for me. All right, atonement for an unsolved murder. 21. If someone is found slain, lying in a field in the land of the Lord your God, or in the land the Lord your God is giving you to possess, and it is not known who the killer is, your elders and judges shall go out and measure the distance from the body to the neighboring towns. Then the elders of the town nearest the body shall take a heifer that has never been worked and has never worn a yoke, and lead it down to a valley that has not been plowed or planted, and where there is a flowing stream. There in the valley, they are to break the heifer's neck. The Levitical priests shall step forward, for the Lord your God has chosen them to minister and to pronounce blessings in the name of the Lord, and to decide all cases of dispute and assault. Then all the elders of the town nearest the body shall wash their hands over the heifer whose neck was broken in the valley, and they shall declare, our hands did not shed this blood, nor did our eyes see it done. Accept this atonement for your people Israel, whom you have redeemed, Lord, and do not hold your people guilty of the blood of an innocent person. Then the bloodshed will be atoned for, and you will have purged yourselves the guilt of shedding innocent blood, since you have done what is right in the eyes of the Lord. Good evening, Bear Brian. Good evening to you as well. Okay, so we've got this. So somebody finds a body, and foul play is involved. And nobody knows who's done it. Nobody saw it. There was no witnesses to this crime. So it's out kind of in the fields. So they basically go out, find out who's closest to it, which I can imagine depending on how close it is to the nearest town, how many towns are involved. This could be an administrative nightmare to watch some people argue over this. But they find out which town's nearest, and the elders get together and they make a sacrifice, and they're like, look, we don't know, we didn't do it, we don't know who did it, but to atone for the town, because somebody did, here's our sacrifice. So I think that's pretty good way to just say, hey, we're sorry, we don't know what happened, so we're just going to do you know who did it, God, so you can punish them, but this is kind of us saying we are sorry for whatever contributed to this murder. Marrying a captive woman. When you go to war against your enemies and the Lord your God delivers them into your hands and you take captives, if you notice among the captives a beautiful woman and are attracted to her, you may take her as your wife. Bring her into your home and have her shave her head, trim her nails, and put aside the clothes she was wearing when captured. After she has lived in your house and mourned her father and mother for a full month, then you may go to her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. If you are not pleased with her, let her go wherever she wishes. You must not sell her or treat her as a slave, since you have dishonored her. Okay, so now we're going to get to the ratio story. All right, first off, I did not marry my wife because I took her captive in a war. Hey, I do think she's beautiful. I am attracted to her. I did not take her home and make her shave her head. Likewise, I don't like it when she cuts her hair. Um, Trim her nails and put aside. So these are rules for basically taking wives from captives. This is an interesting passage because it is mentioned a couple of times in the Bible, mostly in the New Testament, about um, marrying um, marrying people who do not believe in God or do not believe in God the same way. That marrying outside of your religion. The last time we really discussed this, I think, was in Numbers. I think it was the Israelites were being tempted by some of the Canaanites or Amorites in the area, and the men were fornicating with the foreign women. And so this is one of my favorite parts of the Old Testament thus far. So, um, so the men are fornicating with the foreign women, and so God puts a plague on them because they're sinning, right? Giving into pleasures of the flesh. And and so all the elders are getting around and they're talking about it, right? And they see one of the chieftains walk through the camp, and he's got one of these thoughts with him, and they go into his tent and they start going at it, right? Phineas, one of the elders, picks up a spear, goes into the tent, and pins both of them while they're doing the deed to the ground, and then just walks out casually. And then no more plague. No more plague. Make an example of people. God is talks about making an example of people. We see it throughout history, people being made examples of. We don't always listen to these cautionary tales. However, they're there. The Titanic, that's a great example. The Hindenburg, great example of people thinking, oh yeah, this stuff is great. And then all of a sudden, oh wait, we aren't perfect in our engineering. If you ever met an engineer, you understand why. So, but to go back to this, we can go back to Esau, Jacob's brother, Esau. God did not appreciate him taking Canaanite women to be his wives. Um, there was some sort of agreement in place there that they needed to continue to marry Semitic women, because the Semitic women honored God, and the Canaanite tribes were very much in league with Satan and demons and worshiping false gods and all that other stuff. So that all said, there's other passages in the New Testament that talk about being unevenly yoked. If you take a spouse who does not share your faith, blah blah blah. When I met my wife, she was agnostic. I did not care. I was not as mature in my faith when I was 25 as I am now when I'm 39. Oh wait, no, I met her when I was 20. Met her when I was 20. No, met her when I was 19. We started dating when I was 24, and then when I was 25, we got married. Okay, 25, we got married, and she was agnostic for the longest time. She was not interested. She had been to church. She had gone to church when she was a teenager, and then just kind of when she got to college, she just kind of drifted away. Didn't really take it all that seriously. Shared values. She understood and shared Christian values, but there were some hangups that she had with Christian faith that she just was not ready to sign on to. But we got married anyway, and I said, "Look, I'm going to be Christian. I'm going to continue practicing my faith. I am very stubborn and very faithful to God in my love for God. So I'm going to do what I do. If you join me, that's great. I'd love to have you along. But if not, that's on you. All right. But I was going to do my best. And so I said, when we have kids, they're coming to church with me. So when we had kids, they started coming to church with me when I started going to church. My wife pops along, and I think we talked about this a little bit past that point. Anyway, so my wife ends up being saved, and she's a great support for me. and helps me keep me accountable. So somebody on Twitter, one of Christian Marier's mutuals and friends in real life, had tweeted something about how do I find a good woman in the church? And so I tweeted back. I said, look, maybe don't consider just staying within the church to find a woman. You know, you can find a woman who's wholesome, loving, cares for you. You guys share feelings with each other. You know, you can find a wife that way. And that's what I did. And it worked out for me just fine. Just fine. I got the entirety of Christian Twitter ratioed me into oblivion. It's still going on, I think. It's calmed down significantly, but it was bad take. This is a bad take. This is unchristian. Your theology sucks. Everything, all the good on Christian Twitter. There's a lot of pseudo theologians, a lot of guys, a lot of folks that are very well read, and some that are very confident in their takes. I disagree with that to a degree, but they do have scripture to back them up. However, I also have a saved wife, so I'm not going to apologize for it. But it was it was a heck of a time, and a lot of people, a lot of those folks, I respect. I have a lot of respect for a lot of them, and they were giving me a hard time for it. It's okay. It's okay. When you love somebody, and when you love your community and church, you do want to help keep folks accountable. I can take a hard time. Some people can't. Some people can't. You just kind of you got to read your audience, because you don't want to push somebody away when you can coach them along. There's a difference when you get into an attitude where you have somebody who refuses to accept something versus when somebody is willing to be coached along. Where somebody might have struggles with alcoholism, be a good example. If you struggle with alcoholism, somebody saying, "Hey, look, what you're doing to yourself and what you're doing to your family, it's detrimental. Drunkenness is not something that is looked kindly on in the Christian community. You need to dial this back. We need to kind of help you out." And the guy's like, "Okay, yeah, I guess I can," and you start to make some inroads with him. That's one thing. But if the guy's like, "No, I'm drunk. I can get drunk as much as I want. I can quit whenever I want. And you guys just go, you guys can just go to hell with your ideas, and, whatever." And then proceeds to get in a car and drive off. That's not a coachable person. And that's where that's the difference between when you need to, take a firm hand versus, you treat your fellow Christians like you would your friends, right? Like you would your brothers and sisters who you love a lot. That's where we get a problem with churches that are very cliquish and are very cliquish, very judgmental. And those judgmental, overly judgmental church that is not willing to bring in people who sin and treat them like people, where they can make somebody walk away from faith forever. Look, you're going to run into people who have been divorced. You are going to go run into people who have been adulterous. You're going to run into people who struggle with porn addiction. You are going to run into people who might even be gay. All right. I was talking about this today. Most recently we had a gay couple that came into our church. We're welcoming them. Look, we're going to give this message of Christianity. You can listen to it or not. Just let you know what you're doing is sinful. We're not going to offer you membership. We're not going to, allow you to take part in things like being part of our worship team or our music worship team and stuff like that. And that ended up being the breaking point. One of the women wanted to sing on praise team, and our music minister said, "No, you are openly engaging in a homosexual relationship. We're glad that you're here and you're absorbing the word, but if you are openly unrepentant in your actions, you can't do this." And then they left. They left the church altogether. I haven't seen them since, which is sad. But that's the thing. You have to choose whether you love God or love your sin more. It is. I am much more willing and much more sympathetic to somebody who recognizes what they do that's wrong as a sin and is struggling to try to be better about it. Because I do the same thing. I struggle with sin all the time that I recognize is wrong. It is a difference. It is a difference when you just say, no, what I do is fine. You just have to accept me being okay with that. Look, try using that argument with God when you get up there. Yeah, I know you said that. I know you put homosexuality right in between bestiality and child sacrifice, but I really like doing it. So this is not my problem. This is really, you just got to be okay. And so that's not going to work. LKD70, hey, what's up? Coming to terms with your sin takes time. If someone is willing to observe the word of God, that's a step in the right direction. That's right. That's why we want to encourage them. You don't want to just push somebody out and go, you get out. You want them to offer them a place in your church, offer them to live, to sit there. But again, that's where you say, look, I want you to hear the word, membership and everything, where and being part of the community to a membership level, which is kind of a weird and nebulous thing anyway, because you don't have to be a member to show up to Sunday school. You don't have to be a member to show up to the Wednesday night things. You don't have to be a member to bring your kids to what's the summer thing we do all the time? It's been a while. It's been a very long week. Vacation Bible school. You don't have to be a member to take a vacation Bible school. When we do our trunk retreats, when we do, our when we need volunteers, you don't have to be a member for any of those. It's really just a name. You can't vote. That's basically it. Membership is voting, right? And that's why you gatekeep that. That's why you gatekeep that. Because you don't want people who are openly compromising God's law and to possibly bring in votes that can corrode the wholesome nature of what we're all trying to work towards. And that's how you get places like the weird Lutherans, not base Lutherans, but the weird Lutherans, a lot of the what do we call them, cafeteria Catholics, but you get that modernistic approach to things. And like the Trinity Church, I pass on the way to work. A lot of times it's got a rainbow flag, says all are welcome. And I'm like, that's a little bit too blatant. I mean, all are welcome at our church to come to our church. Not all welcome to be members of it, but you don't want to be in that. And I've got it's going to take me a while. It's going to take me some fortitude to wait for me and Eric's next woke preacher episode. When will that be? I'm gonna do it for him. I'm gonna wait for him because he didn't get to do the Tuesday stream, and I know he wanted to. So on the 14th will be the next Eric and Stuart collaboration. I'm sure he'll have things that he's found, but I'm gonna bring up one where you have a transgender pastor saying something that somebody thought was racist, and then a woman bishop of the same church denomination coming in and chastising him, but she didn't chastise him enough, so she got accused of being a racist. And it was just, you can't make this up. Can't make this up. Maybe 100 years ago, this was nothing but just sick satire, but today it's legitimate. It's legitimate. And so we'll probably dig into that, but that's what you get. That's what you get. You get everybody's wallowing in sin, and that nobody can admit that they are. So, very well said. Bear Brian agreed. Thank you guys. I just think that's the appropriate way. Because again, homosexuality is a sin, but a lot of the things we all partake in. Um, but everything we do is a sin. But again, we recognize when we struggle, when we, me being an ass on the internet is I could be better, right? But I admit, I was like, look, I can be better, and I should be better, and I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to roll this back. This is part of my part of my personality that I'm fighting with. I'm not saying, yeah, you know, I'm just going to be mean and hateful to people and spiteful to people. Um, and God's just got to accept me that way. It's a terrible, terrible mindset to have, but people have it. People have it, and it's not limited to that. It's not limited to that. That made no sense, even though you said it perfectly. And just cue it. It's Pride Month for everything goes. So everything goes, I guess. No, it is prayer month because we need to pray for this. We need to pray for degeneracy that it can just leave a month per sin at this rate. Yeah, that's what pride in and of itself is something that we warn against, right? You got to warn against being too proud, right? Humility is a virtue. Um, but now we have a whole month dedicated to a sin and labeled with a sin. So it's Pride Month, it's prayer month. Pray for these people. They need it. They need it, just like we all do. But yeah, so that was my story with marrying a captive woman. So this is an interesting passage because it kind of vindicates me a little bit. But I do understand a lot of people. It is difficult. It is a risk, marrying somebody who doesn't share your faith, because there is a chance, depending on how stubborn and secure you are in your faith, that they will pull you down instead of you lifting them up. That's something that you just got to deal with. But God still doesn't. If you marry somebody and they become an apostate, God still wants you to stay married. So it's not grounds for divorce. Because again, apostasy is. And I think one of the folks in this chat yesterday or the day before talked about it. I was in the church and then I left the church and then I'm slowly coming back. That's a thing. That's what's saying. My wife was in the church, and then she just drifted away from it into being agnostic, and now she's come back, but now she's set. I hope she is, because if she gives that up, then she might give me up. Right of the firstborn. If a man has two wives and he loves one but not the other, it's so sad. And both bear him sons, but the firstborn is the son of the wife he does not love. Do we want to go back to Jacob? When he wills his property to his sons, he must not give the rights of the firstborn to the son of the wife he loves in preference to his actual firstborn, the son of the wife he does not love. He must acknowledge the son of his unloved wife as the firstborn by giving him a double share of all he has. That son is the first sign of his father's strength. The right of the firstborn belongs to him. Well, that won't be me then. Sad enough as it is, I do have a half brother. Both of my parents were married before they met each other. Neither of those marriages that they were lasted very long. But my dad did have a kid with his first wife, and so I have a half brother. I have not seen him in a long time. He did not want anything to do with my dad's new family, which is sad. Rebellious son. If someone has a stubborn and rebellious son who does not obey his father and mother and will not listen to them when they discipline him, his father and mother shall take hold of him and bring him to the elders at the gate of his town. They shall say to the elders, the son of ours is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey us. He is a glutton and a drunkard. And then all the men of his town are to stone him to death. He must pursue evil from among you. All of Israel will hear of it and be afraid. Again, making examples out of people. All right, so it sounds like they've given this kid of theirs many years, because I was a stubborn and rebellious kid. I'm very opinionated. I'm very stubborn. And I'm much like my parents. But unless we disagree, And then that's where the rebellions part comes in. And I was like that all the way up until my late teens. And I've still known I've still argued with them a little bit, but I love them. The thing is, we always come back in love. But if you've got a rebellious son who apparently is a glutton and a drunkard and causing lots of problems, the town's going to take care of him once the father and mother have had enough. Right? That's I think that's really the big part here. When the father and mother have had enough of his shenanigans, take hold of him and bring him to the elders at the gate of his town. They shall say to the elders, "The son of ours don't know what to do with this guy. He's beyond help." Then he gets stoned, which has got to be a painful way to go. Like you're just waiting for that one stone that knocks you out, but all those other stones that are hitting you beforehand, it's got to hurt. Various laws. If someone guilty of a capital offense is put to death and their body is exposed on the pole, you must not leave the body hanging on the pole overnight. Be sure to bury it that same day, because anyone who is hung on a pole is under God's curse. You must not desecrate the land that the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance. Putting bodies on poles. Based. That is based. Could you imagine how much better things would be if we put pedophiles on poles outside of the whatever local town has been has caught him in? Like, so you come into, you can't hang it up. That problem is you can't leave it up too long. You can't leave it up too long. But man, look, we just stoned this guy. He just murdered this other dude. Oh, y'all getting all right. All right. All right. When someone is beyond help, civilization will help themselves to free themselves of you, I guess. Yes. Look, sometimes the town's got to take things into their own hands. You become too much, right? Because look, this is there's plenty of due process here. You've got a father and mother who are probably going to show you all the patience because they love you, that they can, and then the elders would probably step in if they knew that the parents were hateful or abusive and stuff like that. That's the job of the elders. This is why I like the local small church. Oh my, how that phrase stone has changed. Indeed. Imagine getting in a time machine going back and somebody, we're going to stone you to death. Think like, how much weed are you going to give him? Just keep giving him weed and not feeding him until he just dies of exposure. Put him on the pole, stoned. Pedos would probably enjoy being polled. Yeah. Well, maybe that's like your last meal. Your one last enjoyment, put you on the pole, let you sit up there, let your body rot. Well, at least for the day. Anyway. So I guess you want to do it at the beginning of the day. And you've seen that, and this actually, I mean, obviously displaying a body of an offender has been around for a while, since the Old Testament. A lot of times when folks were hung, you left the bodies there for a little while. But that's what it is. It's kind of a warning to everybody. This can be you. Don't touch kids. They don't talk about that all that much, though. I get the feeling it wasn't that big of a problem, but it eventually does. Christ ends up talking about it, getting into millstone territory there. But bring back public display of executed individuals. Bring back public executions. All right. All right. Good. Okay. So various rules. If you see your fellow, wait, did I miss one? It's very, indeed, it is very unbreaded. Various laws. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. Oh no, I didn't. Okay, then we were just talking about that. If you see your fellow Israelites, if you see your fellow Israelites, ox or sheep straying, do not ignore it, but be sure to take it back to its owner. If they do not live near you, or if you do not know who owns it, take it home with you and keep it until they come looking for it. Then give it back. Do the same if you find their donkey or cloak or anything else they have lost. Don't ignore it. Right? Look out for your buddies. Right? This is being neighborly. We're writing neighborly deeds down. If you see your fellow Israelites' donkey or ox fallen on the road, do not ignore it. Help the owner get it to its feet. A woman must not wear men's clothing, nor a man wear women's clothing, for the Lord your God detests anyone who does this. How have I missed this? How have I missed this in the Bible? I never knew that was there. Like, it always knew it was just kind of weird. It was like kind of your gateway into a lot of the trans stuff. Is it okay on Halloween? Is it okay to do it in jest and not unironically? A woman must not wear men's clothing, nor a man wear women's clothing, for the Lord your God detests anyone who does this. There is a gentleman who lives in our county, or who I remember, I don't know if it's still a thing, but People of Walmart used to be a thing. I think it was a website. It's probably still around. People of Walmart used to be a thing, and there used to be a frequent flyer of People of Walmart, and he lived in, or he at least frequented the Walmart in one of the Walmarts in our county. And it was the one that we went to a lot when me and my wife first got married. Very manicured person, but it was a weird thing to see because they had bells all around them all the time. Like, they wore bells around their ankles, they wore bells around their hat. It was just a lot of bell. Yeah, I think it ended up becoming a subreddit, LKD. I think it ended up becoming a subreddit, but it was an actual website back in the, in the 2000s, late 2000s. But he was a frequent flyer on there. And then, there's also on Facebook, you'd see it pop up on Facebook. I think there was a People of Walmart Facebook page. And there was some mental illness, I think, going on there, obviously. But, and that's one of the things that, Christians, we need to make sure that that's one of the things we probably need to be better at as a Christian culture is looking after the mentally ill, because they need a lot of help. And one of the things we've been seeing, because some people like to blame guns for problems, other people understand that it's mental illness, and science's way of throwing pills at mental illness and thinking that it's just gonna fix everything, or whatever their intentions are with medications, are in some aspects that just, that's going to fix things, where the community should rally around mental illness as a whole. If you come across a bird's nest beside the road, either in a tree or on the ground, and the mother is sitting on the young or on the eggs, do not take the mother with the young. You may take the young, but be sure to let the mother go, so that it may go well with you and you may have a long life. I really think there might be more to this story than just what's written down. One of my questions is sometimes with folks like Moses and folks like Paul and their writings in the Bible, is how much of this is coming from God and how much of this is just them giving advice. Is this something where Moses came across was offended about somebody doing something with a mama bird and her babies? I don't know. This is kind of random. Maybe there's more to this. Maybe this is an Israelite cultural idiom that I'm not picking up. And somebody who went to school and understands all that stuff can come up with a theory on that. When you build a new house, make a parapet around your roof so that you may not bring the guilt of bloodshed on your house if someone falls from the roof. Okay. Um, early um, early indemnity insurance there. Do not plant two kinds of seed in your vineyard. If you do, not only the crops you plant, but also the fruit of the vineyard will be defiled. Does make it more difficult. Does make it more difficult to harvest. Do not plow with an ox and a donkey yoked together. Do not wear clothes of wool and linen woven together. Make tassels on the four corners of the yoke you wear. Okay, so these passages right here, um, these passages, I need to bring somebody on who's really good, who's really done some study on that. This is one of the things that that a lot of people who use the equivalent to Orange Man Bad, Sky Daddy, Flying Spaghetti Monster, all this other stuff. Great, great edgy appeals and fedora tipping about how smart they are, that they're atheists. They bring up these. Oh, do you wear clothes of wool and linen woven together? It's just they bring these things up. I don't know the context behind these passages right here, but they are commandments. Maybe this is a way of God separating them out. I don't know, but this is the traditional Israelite garb. An ox and a donkey yoked together, they do two different things. That's just silly. You don't want them yoked together. But the tassels and the mixing wool and linen, I don't understand that. I don't know if that's something similar to cooking a lamb in its mother's milk, where it's maybe something that they considered messed up. I just don't know. And I'd like to get somebody on there to talk about it. So I need to highlight that for later. So, Nernaeth, welcome back. Love your neighbor at your barbecue. The Lord command. Love your neighbor. Oh, love your neighbor at your barbecue. The lost commandment. The lost commandment. Look, it's not really a lost commandment. You're supposed to love your neighbor, and God loves barbecue. If you've not been here for the original, when we were talking about the offerings, but barbecue, making an offering to the Lord, is an aroma pleasing to the Lord. The Lord loves meat. He understands it tastes good. He loves the smell of barbecue. Who doesn't? Who doesn't? LKD, they're very of their time. I think so too. I would like to know the context behind them because I just do not understand that. Marriage violations. If a man takes a wife and, after sleeping with her, dislikes her and slanders her and gives her a bad name, saying, I married this woman, but when I approached her, I did not find her proof of her virginity. Then the young woman's father and mother shall bring the town elders at the gate, proof that she was a virgin. Her father will say to the elders, I gave my daughter in marriage to this man, but he dislikes her. Now he has slandered her and said, I do not find your daughter to be a virgin. But here is the proof of my daughter's virginity. Then her parents shall display the cloth before the elders of the town, and the elders shall take the man and punish him. They shall fine him 100 shekels of silver and give them to the young woman's father, because this man has given an Israelite virgin a bad name. She shall continue to be his wife. He must not divorce her as long as he lives. Anybody else here drawing similarities between this and the Johnny Depp trial? What, with inflation, what is 100 shekels of silver equate to? Does it equate to $8,350,000? I don't know. Basically, we're talking about men being men of honor and being careful in their decisions, and not only that, being sticking to their decisions. So you take a wife, you dislike her, slanders her, gives her a bad name. Consummating relationships back then, if I remember correctly, was at least a semi-public thing. And one of the things that they did was prove, and this is still done. This is still done at in a lot of Middle Eastern cultures. Um, there is proof of virginity is set by the blood of the hymen breaking, right? And that is something that is brought out. And so, man takes a wife, sleeps with her, dislikes her, says, that thought she was just hoeing around and I didn't know about it. Um, and so, I don't want to be married to her anymore. The parents of the daughter keep that have that cloth as proof to say, hey, look, this asshole's lying about this. Let's do something about it. They got to pay him. They fine him 100 shekels. It goes to the parents. It doesn't go to the wife because she's got to stay married to him. He's not allowed to divorce her. Now you're stuck with me. That's an awkward rest of your marriage. That is a miserable rest of your marriage, right? Because now you've married this woman. You've immediately tried to get out of it. You drew her through the mud and tried to call her a slut, and now you can't divorce her. So every time, every night, when you get home from the field, your meal is gonna suck, and she is going to give you all the attitude until you can somehow, if you can, make it up. But even if you do make it up, whenever you have an argument, she's gonna run right to it. Right to that. Oh yeah, well, remember when you did this? It's a punishment. It's a fitting punishment in and of itself. If, however, the charge is true and no proof of the young woman's virginity can be found, she shall be brought to the door of her father's house, and there the men of the town shall stone her to death. She has done an outrageous thing in Israel by being promiscuous. While still in her father's house, you must purge the evil from among you. Sexual immorality. Look, we as a society have become very lax. We have treated sex as currency. Neither me nor my wife were virgins when we started dating. Um, I mean, it's just something that's done. A lot of us do it. How many people? There are very few people out there that go to their marriage bed as virgins. Just is. But back then, no, this was supposed to be a way more weight added to it, and I think that's something we can respect. Now we don't stone people anymore because that was part of that's part of what changes when Jesus comes, right? Is removing a lot of the punishment, the punitive punishment from these Levitical laws and Mosaic laws. A lot of the punishment is being removed because Jesus has offered his sacrifice as grace to us, that we can slip and make these mistakes and still not be lost, where we're getting stoned to death at the door of our parents' house, and or being, well, divorce, but you can still get divorced and it's still a sin, but you're not doomed for the rest of your life. There is redemption. There is repentance. There is a path back to God. LKD, off the bed, 2 a.m. over here in Britbong land. Take care. Have a great stream. Thank you, sir. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, I'm the same way because I'm Eastern time. That's why I usually generally miss Nick's show. If a man is found sleeping with another man's wife, both the man who slept with her and the woman must die. You must purge the evil from Israel. This to me is the worst of all, worse than the promiscuity, right? Especially if he's also married. I don't like that. Don't like that at all. But again, we don't punish that with death anymore. Though, I don't blame a man coming home from work, finding his wife in bed with another man, and losing his ever loving mind and start stacking bodies. If a man happens to meet in a town a virgin pledged to be married, and he sleeps with her, you shall take both of them to the gate of that town and stone them to death. The young woman, because she was in a town and did not scream for help, and the man, because he violated another man's wife. You must purge the evil from among you. If you're being raped, make a noise about it. Make noise. Make noise. It will save your life, right? This is when you you set the example where if somebody's trying to rape you, you say it immediately. You scream. And then they come out, and then what happens to you? There's no shame for you. It's biblical. It's coming down from God. You cry for help. You try to cry for help. You get you are redeemed. But if out in the country a man happens to meet a young woman pledged to be married and he rapes her, only the man who has done this shall die. Do nothing to the woman. She has committed no sin to deserving death. This case is like that of someone who attacks and murders a neighbor. For the man found the young woman out in the country, and though the betrothed woman screamed, there was no one to rescue her. Again. Yeah, rapists can go on the pole too. They can get the pole instead of giving the pole. If a man happens to meet a virgin who is not pledged to be married and rapes her, and they are discovered, he shall pay her father 50 shekels of silver. He must marry the young woman, for he has violated her. He can never divorce her as long as he lives. Feels like there are some very thirsty people out there who can game the system here to try to make it work for him. A man is not to marry his father's wife. He must not dishonor his father's bed. That's pretty straightforward. But going back to this other one, I think we've all met people. I think we've all met dudes who are big enough simps that they might take the extra step and rape a woman that they are fawning over, in order to just kind of force their way into getting the woman they want, as opposed to just doing it. Of course, a lot of marriages back then are arranged. So I'm glad that a lot of our marriages have the lot of the marriage culture in some ways has changed. It should be much more voluntary and less transactional. I don't like, however, the divorce culture that we have created, where it's easy to get divorced, it's easy to get out of things, and a lot of times it's very unfair to one side, especially when kids are involved. So that's not to say I've got friends to divorce. I don't come down on them for it. I understand that there's a lot of personal reasons to go into these things. I try not to chastise them. I'm lucky enough I haven't had to go through that. Other people have. Sometimes somebody sometimes somebody changes for whatever reason. If people need cows, and if you have extra kids, that's true. They had a lot of extra kids back there. People had kids. You were having kids left and right. And yeah, maybe getting a couple of heifers for an extra mouth to feed might be good. So yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm not going to try to judge the how things were working back then. Obviously, God was setting things up and He knows better than me. That's for damn sure. So, all right, folks, that's gonna wrap us up tonight. We've got tomorrow's stream is gonna run a couple of. We're gonna do 23 through 25 because that one kind of carries over through a couple of chapters, and then we're on our downside then we're on the back end of finishing the last book of the Pentateuch, and then we'll be getting into Joshua. I am as much as I love Deuteronomy, much as I love what Moses is doing here. Some of this stuff is repetitive and it's very rule and legalistic still. I'll be happy to get into Joshua, where the narrative that we left for the most part in Genesis and early Exodus comes back, returns, and it pretty much follows all the way to the Gospels, and that will take us a while. But the Samuels, that's when I want to get. That's when I want to start having some discussions about government involvement. Mr. Hey, Flawed. How's it going, folks? Bear Brian, good read, good night. We were supposed to have a meat shortage, according to Big Joe B. Make arrangements. Well, look, it might be that. Look, return to tradition, right? Return to tradition. Reject modernity. Maybe that's what. Maybe that's his really retarded way of coming back to tradition. I don't know. I don't think so. I think that's just the fact that he has dementia. He has dementia. That is something that that is, to me, is very apparent. And look, I try to get too political on here. I have very deep, I am very opinionated with my political beliefs. I try to stay as a bit neutral as it results to the Bible. But you know, we also have a a president who's a Catholic who also is okay with abortion, which it's still. I mean, we talk about cafeteria Catholics and the modernity there. Um, Maybe he's not actually Catholic. I don't know. I'm not in his head. I don't want to be in his head. He is a crazy man, and it's not his fault. But at the same time, I think that a lucid and clear of mind Joe Biden would sell his soul to become president of the United States, even if it meant his time as president would be one that he was barely coherent for. Hopefully, I didn't see all of the. Maybe I did see all of the speech recently. I don't know. I'm very pro Second Amendment. I don't get into that a whole lot on this channel because it doesn't really touch a lot of things. At least I haven't seen it yet. If it does, maybe when we get into Nehemiah, because there is very armed people going around protecting their communities in Nehemiah, and maybe we'll get into some Second Amendment talk then. But we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, there's no. I am tired. Look, I went to Taco Bell 2 days ago. I got a chalupa meal and I got a quesadilla. It was $17 and change at Taco Bell. Look, I'm older. I'm deep into the boomer age right now. But I remember when if you had $1, you could get 2 soft tacos at Taco Bell. I was in high school when that happened. It was an institutional joke. If you always had enough money, if you had any change, you had enough money to eat at Taco Bell. Almost $20 for a value meal and just an extra thing, just an extra piece of food. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Chris McCarney, really enjoyed the homeschool discussion with you the other night. Found you with Nick Takeda. Yeah, he's a buddy of mine. Really happy for him. And glad that he came on the show, and looking forward to having him on again. Was a teacher for 18 years, left the classroom 10 years ago, and my wife and I began homeschooling our kids then. Yeah, I can and I think I said this on that stream. The sense of accomplishment you should feel having seeing your kid succeed, as it appears that the vast majority of homeschool kids do succeed, and then saying, he goes, my kid is bright, but I had a hand in shaping that. I had a big influence in that success that they attained. I helped mold that kid into who he is. I mean, I am proud of what my kids do all the time, and I'm not teaching them. Not in school. I can only imagine how amplified that would be if I was actually the one teaching them, or if my wife was the one teaching you. How proud I would feel as a parent. So, good on you folks. Good on you folks. Anybody who homeschools their kids, I have an immense amount of appreciation for and respect for, because I know it's a sacrifice, but a worthy one, and done out of love and commitment. MR, it was a given that man would be armed in 2000 BC, then corrected to 200. I think you're right either way, 200 or 2000, 200 AD. And really, maybe it should have been that 2000 AD. So proud of the young adults they've become. My goal is to leave 2 beautiful humans in the world when my time is complete. Chris, that's amen to that. Amen to that, because look, parenthood's the best. Parenthood's the best. I know there's and you know, see it somewhere, some around some folks. A lot of my younger friends, um, that haven't had kids yet. They're very you're like, oh, I'm glad I don't have kids. I don't have this much effort. Like, you really don't know. You don't know what you're missing. And I think that's with us as parents when we see people who do have kids and are blasé about it, or abusive, or they treat them like they're a chore, or an obstacle, or something that prevented them from having fun and enjoying their life. I just- uh, uh, Look, I don't have respect for them as human beings, but I also feel like something's broken inside of them. So just cue it. Peace. Have a good night. Yeah, that's a good time. I will check you guys all out later. Like I said, tomorrow night be streaming. Hope probably be on the later end of things. Like I said, Friday night's family movie night. So I'll stream after the movie is over and I get the kids settled in, and we'll be talking more about Deuteronomy. And then this weekend I'll be working on putting together some guests, maybe, and doing some discussions a little bit outside of our Bible reading. So in the meantime, folks, you guys have a very good night. Where are we? Library books? Yeah. Take it easy, folks. God bless. Good night.